start the show.
For Thursday, August 3rd, 2017, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Welcome to the podcast this week. That intro music means that we are back to our regular crew. I'm Norm, and joined to me back from Pinburgh, Pinball Convention in Pittsburgh, it's Jeremy Williams.
Hello, fellas.
And, of course, wearing a very nice shirt with seagulls on it. It's a short-sleeve button-up. It's Kishore Hari.
I didn't realize that you were doing your impression of the Amazon show.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Or whatever that thing is called.
The Amazon Look?
Amazon Look?
Yes, yeah. Where I was rating your fashion. And
I think Norm's
got a thumbs
auditioning
up.
to be the voice of the Amazon Look.
Or we've actually gone full circle because it was one of the things that Will used to do all the time on the podcast that I gave him crap about was reviewing people's attire as he introduced them.
Will did that?
Will did that.
Will
Smith.
Has Will looked at how he dresses?
He was a fan of novelty T-shirts.
Yeah.
Deflection.
Oh,
Focuses on the other.
Okay.
I see.
Well, you have nice T-shirts on today too, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like the Pinburgh.
Yeah, this was the official Pinberg 2017 shirt designed by San Francisco's own Matt Henry.
Oh, nice. How was your experience there?
I had the best time. I had the time of my life.
As Green Day would say, you had the time of your life?
Yeah, or Dirty Dancing, whatever you want. I brought my 10-year-old, so that made it a little different. This is my third year going now. This is the world's biggest pinball tournament in history. They keep making it bigger, so I can keep saying that.
I heard it was so big that even the contingent from your local San Francisco Bay Area Pinball League was in the dozens of people.
Oh, yeah. No, we usually have 20 to 30 people from the Bay Area. And we had 800 people showed up for the entire competition.
Wow.
And they sold out months ago. But there's, so yeah, everyone showed up, had a great time. It is amazingly well run. I don't know how they do this because 800 people, they have maybe 300 games just for the tournament.
So it's, the whole convention is a tournament-based convention. It's not like California Extreme, not free play.
No, it is. It's actually
showcasing.
more like California Extreme because
it is. Okay.
it is a part of a larger event called Replay FX. And if you're in the Pittsburgh area, you probably know about this already. If not, go next year because it's fantastic. Unlike California Extreme, it's not crazy crowded. You know, they have so much space. It makes California Extreme look like a small
Not a ballroom
venue.
Which is it kind of is. It's a packed ballroom.
Right.
This is a warehouse?
It's a convention center.
Oh, got
But
it.
they take over the big hall, and they actually two, and they open it up down the middle. And there's, like I said, about 300 pinball games just for the tournament, which is called Pinburgh. But the larger event is called Replay FX, and there's just as many pinball machines out there for people to play, as well as every video game, and bouncy houses, and live music, and vendors selling all these amazing wares that they've built or sourced, but you can't find anywhere else.
So wares meaning modifications, toys that fit in pinball machines, custom.
Yeah, but it's most of it is like 8-bit stuff. So it's mostly like arcade centered.
Got it.
I think that's what people largely come for. That's the clothing you see there, unless they're in the pinball tournament. Then they have the pinball stuff.
I have a question about the tournament itself. How is that run? Is it the same games or is it announced that this year's tournament game will be this that people practice on?
Right. So you play 40 4-player games, right? So you play 10. So you play a lot of games. You play 40 4-player games.
Wait, 40 different machines
each day.
Each day you are playing 40 different pinball machines.
Yeah, so it's like...
So there is no singular...
No.
This is the Counter-Strike, the Team Fortress, the Overwatch. It is, you are the FPF master.
Right. Yeah, you play every game. So it's sort of... Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things about pinball to me is that unlike, most games, you not only have to know your flipper skills and know how to play pinball in general.
Yeah.
You also have to know the rule sets to all these different
Of course.
games.
And you could have a strong games that you're going to catch them on. It's like golf.
Yeah.
Except instead of a 19-hole course, it is a 40 machine tournament.
Well, there's 300 games, but then each day, like, you're randomly assigned a group, and so you know what 4 games you're playing for that 2-hour period. But then there's like 14 hours of the day that you're playing pinball.
God, it's an
14
endurance.
hours.
Yeah, and then the second day you do it again, but you're in your division. The first day decides what division you're in, A, B, C, or D. Second day, you're sort of playing within your skill set. The second day,
How many total different machines did you play?
80. Because I did 40 one day and 40 the next day.
80.
Yeah.
You did 80 different machines.
80
You said, when
pinball
you said there were 300 different machines,
I could have played any one of them, but
it's 300 at the tournament, or
Yeah,
there are three? I
exactly.
mean, there were many more than 300 total pinball
no,
machines.
there's about 280 or so at Pinburgh.
Got it.
Yeah.
I couldn't name 28 pinball machines.
No,
I'm
I probably couldn't
I'm
either.
looking at Jeremy's results on Pinburgh.com. He went 71 and 49
Yeah.
total over 120 matches.
How does that
Yes.
work?
So
71.
that's the number.
49.
That's the number of points I earned. So that's the number of points. So that's the number of players that I beat, essentially, versus the number of players who beat me.
Is there a list of which games Jeremy played to get there?
at the bottom?
What are the more rare ones that?
Oh God, who knows? I mean, there's from all eras there. But I did very well. I'm very proud of myself. Out of 800 people, I tied for 48th place.
Well, top 50.
Yeah, which is like insane.
That's like in the PUBG analog, you're like top 10, top 5.
Sure.
Even, right?
Sure.
Out of close to 1,000 people.
I
you
was
get
so
top
close.
50?
I could say I was so close to actually make it into the finals round.
Top 6%.
That would have been fun.
I'm looking at the list of pinball games that he played. I recognize 3.
Yes.
No, 4, 5. I mean, some of them are famous, like Addams Family, really famous
Of course,
pinball
of course.
game.
So when you hit a game, you know the games they're going to be in your circuit, or is that just pop up once you're?
Often it's right at the moment you have to go play them.
Wow. What's your feeling? Like,
So I actually, when I went my first year, I said, this is a problem. We have to solve this. We can solve this with technology. Hey, friend Andreas, who knows how to make websites, how about you put together a website, and it's tips on how to play pinball. We'll call it Pin Tips.
sure.
And you type in a pinball machine, and you see the game come up, and you tap it, and it's all these suggestions submitted by people. Each suggestion has to be Twitter length. It has to be 140 characters long or shorter, and then we'll allow people to upvote them so that the more popular, more useful tips rise to the top. And he made it. And so that exists. And so now everybody who goes to Pinburgh or any competition,
They're on their phone.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
they're using pintips.net.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'm playing an Amazing Spider-Man. There are 2 tips only. Don't shoot the center drop targets. You get a quick train.
there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's your quick primer.
Yeah, because you only have a minute or two.
So walk me through your psychological experience when you walk in front of a game, one that you did not recognize or never played before, or 2, one that you were very comfortable with. How do those feelings differ?
Usually if I'm not comfortable with it, I end up doing better because I'm not trying to do one specific thing. You know, you can hyper focus on your shot or whatever the objective is, and you just end up draining because there's all this pressure.
Is there a scoring? Is there do you hope to then go not first because you don't want to set the bar, or
Typically, if you have the top seeded player will have choice of position when you first get there. If whatever choice you have, you always choose to go as late as possible. Because
course.
You want to see what the scores are. You have to
and you want to
beat.
see the strategies and you want to learn the game by watching other people?
Exactly.
Is there a little bit of smack talk?
No, thankfully
No.
not. Thankfully, I mean, now that said, as I said, I did bring my 10-year-old, and he learned not only a lot about pinball, but he learned a lot of new curse words.
A lot about life.
Yes.
Nah.
He's like,
Yeah.
this is a side of Dad I have definitely not seen
Who
before.
are the characters?
Not for
why
me,
why
from
isn't there
all his
a
opponents.
documentary about this? Because you could totally see the
yeah.
2-day pinball tournament being like a Christopher Guest style documentary with all these characters. The guy who walks in with 2 pinballs and using them juggling them in his hand or whatever, and the ups and downs. This is ripe for storytelling.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that one. I'm a big Christopher Guest fan, and I would approve of that movie.
They wouldn't even have to recast Billy Mitchell.
No,
He would just show
show-
up
yeah.
as
You know,
is.
he used to be a pinball guy. Like before he won, what was it? What did he get known for? Pac-Man?
Pac-Man.
He was a pinball god. He was
Wow.
one of the best pinball players in the world.
Oh my god.
So he's Yeah, he'd be in that documentary.
So who won this year's Pinburgh?
Oh yeah, somebody I've never met before. His name is Colin McAlpine. Congratulations to him. He walked away with a $15,000 prize.
Wow, what's the buy-in?
$100, probably $200. Everyone had to pay to play.
Okay, but you're getting a lot of game time.
Oh yeah,
you're playing almost more than 200 games.
No, I mean you got and the amount of work that goes into running this, unbelievable, off the chart. I mean it's amazing.
What'd you get for place 49? Free soda?
I think it was like 48. I'm not or 40,
48.
but it was nothing.
Oh
no, I pride. I got Whopper points. That's your world ranking points.
Right.
Yeah.
So congratulations
Thanks.
on your high standing. And you can only go up from here. Big expectations
Not
next
true.
year.
Not true.
And your son enjoyed it?
Yeah, he wants to go back.
I also I heard that this was a big trip for him, technology-wise.
That's right. Yeah, no, because we would be separated at this event, I said, we'll get you a phone for this weekend.
Ooh.
But now I think he just has a phone.
What?
Yeah,
you got out-parented by your child.
He's going to middle school now, and so there's some reasoning for why he should have a phone as long as he can keep it in his backpack at the proper hour, not take it out to.
You can't. That's not going to happen.
It sounds like he won.
Yeah, it does. I mean, does Apple give you? I assume it was an iPhone.
There's a 4-year-old, iPhone.
I assume. I don't think Apple gives you the ability to have a turn off cellular services, turn off third-party apps between these hours. That would be some type of intense child protection.
That's why you give him an Android. It just does that sometimes.
Right. The apps stop launching.
No, he's over the moon about it. This is a big thing for him.
Wow! Congratulations to you both. How'd you spend your weekend, Kishore?
I don't remember.
Really?
How about that? Oh, actually, I went to see Wonder Woman again.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah,
let's jump into our first segment then. If we're going to talk about movies.
I just wanted to say real quick that Annalie was fantastic last week. And if you didn't listen to last week's episode for any reason, go back and check it out. It was a good Comic-Con discussion.
I don't know. That Kishore guy wasn't that great.
Oh my God. I'll tell you later.
What?
This is the best worst tease ever.
Before I play the next music, you have to remind me to tell you a story. Yes, before I play the next music.
I'm going to put it in our notes for discussion.
All right.
I did do a few things this weekend. I went to see a circus, a free circus event, and then I went to see Wonder Woman again. And I have to say, did not enjoy it on the rewatch nearly as much. Steep decline.
What fell flat for you the second time around?
So all of the things that I was really seeing it with like a larger crowd kind of energized for, like when Wonder Woman revealed her outfit coming out of in that one scene
the trench.
When I saw, I'm trying not to spoil people.
Okay.
Even though it was in a trailer.
I mean, it's the second highest grossing movie of the year domestically, and people have seen it. It's okay.
So that scene particularly fell flat second time.
Yeah, because there was only like 4 people in the theater, and it was just kind of felt cheesy.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm glad you've seen the light,
I think
my friend.
That's a movie that definitely benefited from the anticipation running through the crowd, and then the fight with Ares didn't look as good the second time.
The fight with Ares, I think universally agreed, is not fantastic.
Yeah. And I didn't remember it being that kind of like gross, and like the exposition like that was happening during that fight didn't line up to like their movements and stuff. It was like they're doing voiceover over their own fight, which was a weird sort of experience. So it's just like little things like that. But it brings up this idea that like there's some movies like this, especially in the comic book genre, that are just better to see opening weekend because you like a full theater makes a huge difference.
Watching a movie sometimes in theaters, period, makes a huge difference.
That said, I did go to see Attack of the Clones with a full theater. I saw all those prequels with a full theater.
Yeah, and that doesn't help.
And when Yoda has his fight where he starts jumping around like a frog, the whole theater erupted in laughter.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Completely different experience for me. I watched
Really?
like the Coronet Theater back when that was around, a major landmark theater in San Francisco. And when Yoda opens up his cloak and the lightsaber flies out into his hand, the crowd was cheering and oh my God, this is amazing.
But he didn't start hopping yet.
He did not start hopping yet. I might have blocked out the crowd reaction when we started hopping. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think totally fair. We've watched the movie multiple times now, Wonder Woman, and I agree. Parts of it I would hope to have been different, but I say that only in the sense that like no movie is perfect, and I can always come up with reasons to improve it. But still thoroughly enjoyed. I did a couple things over the weekend. Watched a bunch of movies. I watched 2 movies. I watched The Big Sick, which Kishore, you've seen, right?
I have not seen. I've just sort of lived it, you know?
Oh, okay. I guess we've all kind of sort of lived it.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was a great movie to watch in theaters as well.
Really?
And it's not playing many places. I saw it at the Stonestown Cinema. Yeah, the mall theater that I watched movies at when I was a kid.
Everyone is recommending this film.
It's a really good romantic comedy.
There you go.
Yeah, it's well written. It's honest. All the supporting casts are really funny in it. It's not mind blowing. It's not like a Judd Apatow raunch comedy. It doesn't feel like, feels like it has a lot of the heart, but it's also not as bogged down as some of his movies are in terms of just being drawn out too long.
Can I tell you guys a secret? I mean, no one's listening to this, right? We're okay.
Nope.
Secret cone of silence here.
Sure.
I'm a massive romantic comedy fan.
Ooh.
Like 3 of my top 5 movies of all time are romantic comedies.
Let's hear 'em.
I'm really into the genre. I mean, I love the When Harry Met Sally, like classic romantic comedy. I even like Forget Paris, an underrated Billy Crystal romantic comedy. Happy Accidents, very good romantic comedy. I can keep going. It is like looking at my Netflix, here's what we recommend are never the things we talk about on this show because it's all romantic comedy.
That's okay, man. I mean, I think the appeal of those movies is they do appeal to both sexes.
Fair enough.
And they're also great like adult coming of age stories sometimes.
Yeah.
That you can appreciate them for different things as you grow older and different points in your life.
Don't you dare throw Love Actually at me, tested fans. Hate that movie.
You know, why do you hate that movie so
It's
much?
so overrated. So overrated. Who takes like cue card signs to somebody's door to express their love?
It's overly romanticized and it's in many ways not the best way.
But going back to The Big Sick, I mean, everything I've heard about it is sort of twofold. It's like if you're a fan of Kumail and his work, a lot of his comedy comes through because it's based off of his real love affair with his wife, Emily Gordon. But everyone keeps saying Ray Romano is excellent in this movie,
and
which
Holly
is such
Hunter.
a weird statement.
Yep. Everybody Loves Raymond is great in this movie.
All right.
Yeah. Well recommended. The other movie we saw in theaters, and this is I think people out there probably care about this a little more, is Dunkirk.
I thought you were going to say Emoji Movie. No,
not the Emoji Movie. Number 1 for 2 weeks in a row. Dunkirk. Saw in IMAX. I think it was. I think it wasn't 70 millimeter in the IMAX version we saw because I think they had the digital IMAX pre-roll. It was astounding. So, Christopher Nolan, of course. I don't know if you've read any reviews of Dunkirk, but it's about 1940s, great evacuation of French shores for British soldiers. 350,000 soldiers evacuated back to Britain, and there are some interesting storytelling devices he uses in this. They're very Christopher Nolan in terms of I don't want to spoil too much in terms of like how he messes with time a little bit, but. He's getting closer. He's not there yet. He's getting closer to what I feel like is his goal of shooting an entire movie with IMAX cameras.
So I have a couple questions to ask because even though it's really well reviewed, it's divisive from people I've talked to. Everyone gives it's beautiful, but it's a really hard watch. And
what does that mean? Hard watch?
It's like you're not going to go rewatch Dunkirk.
If it was in theaters again, it'd be one of those movies that if they played at the Castro Theater in 70 mil in 5 years, I would sign up for it in a heartbeat. There are some. So when I talk about the IMAX, he loves film, he loves shooting in IMAX. from The Dark Knight, the first opening sequence, big deal. He shot that. It was a big deal. I'm not saying that sarcastically. It was a big deal. He shot the whole bank heist sequence of the Joker in IMAX, and that scene looks gorgeous. But that movie, which has many scenes in IMAX, from the climactic action scenes to some scenes, is choppy in the sense that if you watch in IMAX, even if you watch the Blu-ray, the IMAX scenes, one, fill up the whole screen, and you don't get your black bars top or bottom.
Oh, that's true on Blu-ray too?
And it's true on Blu-ray. They fill 16 by 9.
Wow.
And then IMAX is a little taller than 16 by 9.
Yeah.
But then they give you the black bars. But also the film stock looks different. You can tell IMAX is brighter, it's crisper, just the way the film is developed. So if you keep an eye out for it, and many times it's if you watch, like, whether it's Dark Knight or Interstellar or Inception, many times, I'm not even sure Inception had IMAX scenes in it, but Interstellar for sure, like, it's just, you don't notice the difference. But the times when you do notice the cuts, like some in one scene, it'll be like this gorgeous full screen, beautiful IMAX wide shot, and suddenly you see the black bars, and it's a little grainier, it's a little darker. And this movie, it's flipped the other way around, where most of the movie is IMAX, and very few scenes are shot 35 mil.
You watched it on an IMAX screen?
And watched an IMAX screen, and the 35 mil scenes stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? It made no sense from a filming standpoint. It wasn't like this scene was hard to shoot in IMAX, which it is. Technically, IMAX film stock only runs, the cameras only record for 3.5 minutes at a time, which is a long time, right? But also, they were doing the most challenging shots in this film. There's a whole story, a whole plot of this film that's in the skies. Like, Tom Hardy is a British Air Force pilot, and his whole perspective is in a Spitfire airplane. Every scene with Tom Hardy is IMAX, from his face to his perspective to the dogfights. And you can look at behind the scenes pictures where you see real Spitfire airplanes that they brought back to fly, that they have, like, basically rigged up IMAX cameras mounted on the side of the airplane, looking inward, looking over the shoulder, to film these scenes.
Crazy.
But
they have to start those and stop them,
and they have
every 3 minutes.
They basically have to take off and land hundreds of times.
Oh my God!
They take off, land. There's they actually didn't use Spitfires for some of the scenes. They used a similar airplane that they redressed to look like a Spitfire, but had 2 seats, and so they had a director in the back with a camera operator.
Are they film cameras?
They're film.
They're not digital IMAX.
There are, you know what? I'm not sure. There are digital IMAX cameras that do the 65 mil equivalent format. I want to say these were still film.
Crazy.
Yeah. And they have, like, underwater shots, night shots. But then there are scenes in this movie where, like, Kenneth Branagh is standing there talking to one of his colonels, and it's just a regular. It's like, did they not have the IMAX camera that day? Like, why isn't this scene shot in IMAX? It made no sense to me.
Yeah.
That took me out of it a little bit. But if you're interested in how good a film can look, this is a movie to watch. Like,
really?
Practical effect wise, he used RC miniatures for a lot of scenes. They're just some amazing, gorgeous. Like, IMAX used to produce films, right? I guess they still do.
Yeah.
More like documentary style.
Right.
They're totally documentary style films, and they did one on the ISS. There was an IMAX camera on the. I think that one's a digital one, on the ISS that they filmed. They've done nature documentaries. The one that I love, and it's
Ring of Fire. That was my favorite.
Which one is that?
That was a volcano one.
I haven't seen that one. There's one that was shot in the 90s, I want to say, and it's about Air Force pilot flying like an F-15 or something. And that one is it's like a short, back then I think IMAX projectors could only go for like 80 minutes long, so it's like an 80-minute documentary. And but it had some amazing aerial footage, all shot with IMAX cameras. And this reminded me of that, but in a narrative storytelling, in a fictional account of a real life event.
And just real quickly, you were saying people aren't watching this a second time because of the story?
I think it's a combination of, like, it's a hard story, but
difficult.
it's also like what I've been told is just that it's, even though it's beautiful, it's that, like, castaway. It has castaway quiet moments that are uncomfortable.
Okay.
Like, I don't think Schindler's List level is not what I got from this. Like, I can't watch this again because it's traumatic, but just that it is not something that you're going to just pop in.
it's an intense experience designed to be such. It's quote unquote his shortest film in a long time. It's only hour 46 minutes long, which is not very long, but it's tense the whole time. So you are drained by the end of it, which is like I'm looking for that sometimes in a thrilling movie experience. If you watch Dunkirk and you love the Tom Hardy dogfighting and aerial shots, like how do they do that shot? How do they this IMAX cameras in the sky with real airplanes? The documentary I'm talking about that IMAX produced is called Fighter Pilot Operation Red Flag, and it was made in 2004. It's 50 minutes long, and it's about a training exercise the Air Force puts on where pilots from all over, I want to say the world, come to do a battle simulation, and it's all filmed in IMAX. It's super interesting.
Well, those reviews are not so dissimilar from the Emoji Movie reviews.
Is it
like completely draining?
9% Rotten Tomatoes or 7?
6% now.
Oh my god!
Shout out to Betsy Bozdeck from Common Sense Media for one of the only positive reviews this movie's ever gotten.
It wasn't Armand White? Did they let him review that?
Positive messages, but colorful adventure is only meh. That was considered a positive review of that movie.
It was like 2.5 out of 4, maybe.
It's still, it's still number 2 for the week under Dunkirk, and I wouldn't be surprised if like they don't care. Like the people who this movie is made for aren't writing reviews.
But I don't think it made money either.
Really? People need to go see a movie with their kids. They just go see whatever the kids' movie is, and
they automatically, if you're going to watch a movie with kids, one, you get 3 or 4 times the ticket price, right? Because you're already buying multiple tickets.
Exactly.
And 2, parents, it's still a relatively cheap way to keep your kids occupied for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. This summer has been produced some pretty good kids movies. So this is an abomination.
I wouldn't call this just because there are a lot of kids movies that are maybe, I wouldn't say frivolous, but at least this seems frivolous in that they took an IP that don't even resonate with kids. But
it's not an IP, is it?
It's brand familiarity. The idea of an emoji is there's a recognizable brand, and it's the kid version equivalent of Battleship, like what the studio did.
Oh, the movie Battleship.
In terms of they took an existing recognizable name for something that has no plot associated with it, and then somehow gave it a plot.
Yeah, I mean, they had me at examining the family dynamics of the poop emoji, but
whoa, got deep.
Yeah.
You know what? We went to see, I don't know. We went to see some kids movie. What was this?
Captain Underpants?
No, I didn't see that
one. I liked it.
Storks.
No, it was recent. Anyway, we were there, and the most exciting thing was in the hallway. We saw that they're making a Paddington 2.
Oh,
which I don't know if you saw the first one.
I like that. Yeah. So it's very sweet,
very charming.
My young daughter, she when we told her about that, she's absolutely blew up. She's so excited. She doesn't even want to. She doesn't even know what London is. She just knows it's London.
as voiced by Paddington the Bear. I got one more movie recommendation. Watch Free Fire, which is not a kids movie. Kids should not be watching this at all.
Okay.
It is a 2-hour exercise in a chaos of a gunfight. Totally worth it.
I haven't even heard of this.
Brie Larson's in it. Cillian Murphy.
Is it in a theater?
It's on demand rental.
Okay.
Yeah, but highly recommended. The director Ben Wheatley, I want to say, also directed High Rise. He's an upcoming director.
High Rise is good.
Yeah, so this it's totally fun. Sharples Copley is in it, and he's hilarious. One more. I got before we get to your two stories you got to tell. Are you guys Game of Thrones watchers?
I have been watching Game of Thrones.
Too much, man. Too much.
Wait, can I predict something?
Yes.
You are not happy with the current season.
I'm not. I was happy with the last episode. I was not happy with episode 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. I think that review-wise, I like it when the show is about conversation and intense interactions and less about
advancing the plot,
which a lot of the season has been. But we are getting close to the end of Game of Thrones, the series, and now would be a good time, if you're a fan of the TV show, to jump into the board game.
Oh, there's a board game?
So there was always, the board games have been around for a long time. It's based on the books, not the TV show.
Okay.
And I played the board game with Will and my housemates like 4 years ago, and it was a ton of fun. But we didn't know who the TV show watchers, Game of Thrones TV show watchers, didn't recognize the names of the characters because they have a lot of the Martells and the characters who weren't introduced yet on the show. But now at this point, since everyone has basically been introduced, it's actually a great time to revisit the board game. Do you like Risk?
Yeah, is it Risk,
Yes.
basically?
It's so much better than Risk. It takes about 4 or 5 hours long to play. Our game took 8 hours to play.
What?
Yeah,
Did you leave with less friendships than you entered in?
totally. 100%.
Then it's like Risk.
Yep. Now, I'll give the one-line sell for this. It's Risk, meaning like it's a game of territory and strategy. Everyone plays a different faction, but everyone plays their moves at the same time secretly.
Oh, no. I hate those games.
No. So as opposed to
I've noticed this trend with a lot of the newer generation of board games where everyone's always involved.
yes,
You know?
And so like there will be a move round where like we're all gonna make our moves, but we make our moves behind curtains. So we make decisions, but our decisions that we individually make, we have no idea how it's gonna affect your decision. And so we make these gambits. Like, do I think you're gonna move closer to my territory here, or can I reallocate my resources? And everyone unveils their moves at the same time, and then the game plays out.
So that's Risk with bluffing.
Yeah, which makes it much more interesting, which makes it more like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it makes you want to murder each other more.
Totally. And there are ways to win the game where you can like play very slowly and slow play it. But if you're a fan of the TV show and you like this last season, especially the strategic moves being made by the different houses in this most recent season, you will love playing this game because you can basically do those things in board game form.
Can you play as Targaryen? The dragon lady?
You cannot play as Daenerys.
No, that's just like the pinball machine then.
Oh, really?
She's too powerful.
Oh.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. So, speaking of pinball,
Yes, your story.
by the way, I went to Pinburgh this past week, and my very first game, my very first game in my very first group, this woman in my group named Evelyn, she said, "Are you from Tested?" I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "My husband made the music for the technology to this week."
No, what?
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
Isn't that crazy?
That is what a
Wait,
weird.
is that Justin, a.k.a. Speed?
No, not. That would have been funny. No, I believe his name is Michael. And way like 2 days later, I caught up with her. I saw her in the hallway, and I said, "Hey, introduce me to your husband. I want to meet this guy." And I got to meet him, and I thanked him profusely. I said how much we like his music.
Yeah.
And he told me how he did it. Like he did the vocoder thing for the technology news.
Mm-hmm.
He did that on the keyboard and explained his craft to me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, small world.
Now my story is not going to make as much sense.
Oh, you should have gone first.
Yeah, I should have gone first. I had this weird thing happen to me. I got home from Wonder Woman at like 2 a.m. from the movie theater, and as I'm pulling up, there is a Uber driver like camped out in front of my next door neighbor's place, and she comes out, and it's an Uber Eats delivery driver, but she doesn't speak any English. She only speaks Mandarin. And it takes me a while to sort of figure this out. And by the way, it's 2 a.m. on a street in San Francisco. This is weird. And she's basically like, she gets to the point of, I get without any sort, I don't know Mandarin. I figure out that she's here for delivery, but can't reach the person inside the house. So she calls the number, but then I'm like, I start talking, I can't translate back to her. So I get out Google Translate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I use the mic feature, and we totally have a conversation on the street at 2 a.m. through the Google Translate mic feature.
So she speaks into your phone, and you can read, and
and
then
vice versa.
How real time was it?
It was pretty good because I was in front of my house, so I connected to my Wi-Fi. So it was pretty fast. It was within like 3 to 5 seconds.
This is the promise of augmented reality.
It was amazing.
You don't have to read it; it'll speak it.
Yeah, it spoke it too, but reading it was just a little bit
Yeah.
easier because the grammar of it is really
It's
pretty bad.
It's the Babelfish.
Yeah.
So this is what a lot of these built-in headphones, Bluetooth headphones that do some dynamic processing of audio are promising to do. Build in a Babelfish feature, which I'm completely unsold by. I mean, I haven't used what they're selling, but conceptually, I think for all the reasons you're talking about, one, in terms of the delay, if I'm actively engaging you in a conversation and I'm trying to read your facial expressions, the tone of your voice as cues for your intention, at the same time as trying to listen audio-wise, computer voice that's translating the words, I don't think that's going to make it for an effective conversation, as opposed to hearing you and then seeing the words and reading them in my head and then matching those two. Where an augmented reality, where we're having your phone in an AR app or like an even Translate app, or having, whether it's Google Glass or whatever augmented reality headset is going to be able to do, that feels like the Babelfish of the future. I don't think real-time translation, text to audio-wise, is going to work well.
Yeah, maybe not. This is definitely a weird case, but because it turns out the delivery she was trying to make of 4 pizzas from her truck was to a gentleman that was in Austin, Texas.
Oh, no.
And so that took a little while to figure out that I was like, I've never heard of that street. Where are you located, sir? Austin, Texas. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a little while.
It's a crank call? Like,
no.
What happened?
It's somehow like Uber Eats got like the GPS all mixed up. So I go upstairs and I tell my wife.
At 2 in the morning?
At 2 in the morning. And she goes, so where are the pizzas?
You could have offered just to bought the pizzas and solve that problem.
I want to know, how did she respond to you sticking a phone in her face and like motioning to talking to it?
It definitely was awkward at first, but then she figured out what was happening because like it started translating.
Yeah.
And she sort of, got it.
Did she like it?
I don't know. We didn't actually talk about like do a full user survey at the end, but like it was
because I had the similar experience with one of my contractors when we did housework, and he loved it. It was, for us, it was like a real moment. Yeah. I'll unmute before I play the music.
All right, I think there are 2 big technology stories that we got to talk about this week. I know we have a lot of things that we have listed in our show notes, but first of all, let's talk about Tesla.
Oh, I thought you were going to go back to the Emoji Movie. Okay, Tesla.
All right. So last Friday, I don't know, on schedule, right, making this schedule. No, it's a little behind schedule. Elon unveiled the first production Model 3s in Fremont. We weren't there. Actually, a tested reader generously reached out and offered to get us a ticket to this event. But
oh, wow.
I was busy, had to decline. And that Model X event that I went to a couple years ago was just it left me such a bad taste in my mouth. So, but I'm still very excited for the product. But they had about 30 Model 3s out. They delivered the first ones to Tesla employees, who are owners 1 to 5, I believe. And then several announcements were made. So this is also the lifting of the embargo for reviewers who had gotten access to the Model 3s to drive them. And lots of new info, both in terms of the technology and also for the pricing for people who are on this pre-order list, who've already put down $1,000, people in this room included, for a Model 3.
Before we get to some of the like professional reactions, what was your just gut reaction just seeing like the car come out and what you saw? Did it meet what you expected?
Totally. So this did not feel like the fear, I think, that I had with, and in retrospect, it didn't make a lot of sense, was that the Model S was their premium car, right? It's like about $100,000 car, a little less, but like if you want all the options, it's a very high-end car that isn't really attainable by most people, right? And so this is supposed to be the attainable version, starting at $35,000 with the tax rebate. But the question was this, how would they differentiate this from Model S?
I think it's 35 before the tax rebate.
Oh, before the tax rebate. 35 before the tax rebate. How would this be differentiated from the Model S? Would this be their Corolla, or would this still be considered a luxury car? And it seems like this is still going to be a Tesla, a premium car. It's almost like the cheapest iPhone is still an iPhone, right? This is not a car for the real masses. This is a car for the middle class, and so the car looks good from a car perspective.
Yeah, it looks really good, I think, from the outside.
And then the initial reviews that I've read of people who I don't know how much time they spent actually driving it, were that the performance of the car exceeded their expectations, which also pleased me. But the downside is that you can't have a car that's going to be basically a sports car that basically looks almost like a Porsche that really costs $35,000. That was never the reality of this. So
no. And that's not realistic. Just in anyone, that shouldn't have been realistic in
hold on
perception.
Hold on now. What do you mean by that? Go ahead.
Well, meaning that if you want the car, with the features, the high-tech features, you're going to be paying a lot more. So
Right.
what they announced were two models, right? A $35,000 entry-level model, which has a range of 210 miles, and then the an higher-end $44,000 model, which has 100 more miles range. With the same, they're two-wheel drive. They're not all-wheel drive,
Right.
single motor cars. There may be an all-wheel drive version in the future, but next year they're only shipping this higher-end model first. So anyone who thought they were going to be getting a $35,000 car, which again there were a lot of tax rebate questions of like, you only get the tax rebate before Tesla ships X number of cars total. You might not get a tax rebate if you're waiting in line for the $35,000 car. That might be much further down the line in their production pipeline because most people are going to want to pay for the upsell and get that $44,000 car. And even if you've paid $44,000, what you don't get is a bunch of options. Like if you want to have a car that's not black, that's $1,000, $1,500.
Oh, is black the only free option?
Free option. If you want anything other than black, it's going to be another $1,000. If you want like a premium trim package, which completely understand, luxury cars, it's going to be like $5,000 if you want like the sound package, stuff like that. That's a personal preference. But if you want the promise of the future, right? Yeah, you're going to get an electric car. If you want the Autopilot, the software switch, it's $5,000 just to turn on the Autopilot as it exists today.
Yeah.
Another $3,000 on top of that if you want level 3 self-driving.
If you want full self-driving capability, sort of, but that's not even the service yet. It's just the capability of it.
Just the capability, which isn't activated at launch today. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the tone you're sort of projecting is like, wow, that's a lot of
I think
upgrades.
I think if the marketing is such, and this is with a lot of products, right? What you see on screen with all cars, like this is the upgraded model, the premium model, the LX model, not just the base price, right? Yeah, you can read all about the $35,000 car that Tesla's going to use to bring back electric cars and change the world, but really this is going to be a $50,000 to $60,000 car that's more competing with your Mercedes, your Lexus, and your BMWs.
So the thing I took away, and maybe this is not true, can you do those upgrades at a later time? Because I was wondering, like, could you buy like the $35,000 car? Maybe you get like a different color or whatever, and then decide a year from now, 2 years from now, when Autopilot is in a really different situation because all of these cars have been on the road, there's a bigger data set, then you pay for the investment in that.
I don't know, and I want to say yes, especially with the Autopilot features, because they did say that every car would have the functionality hardware-wise. It's about the software switch.
I don't know about that, man.
You think you need to buy it on launch?
I don't know. I mean, I just assumed that certainly there's like the $5,000 luxury package that has the glass roof. You're not going to add that after the fact.
No.
Right.
The battery in terms of like the longer range.
The range, I mean, the range you can only buy that at launch.
So you're just talking about specifically the Autopilot
Yeah,
stuff?
I mean, because the Autopilot, which is, I think, the expensive promise that I think most people were hoping for.
Yeah, and by the way, I think that the Model 3 is clearly ahead of its time in every other way.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you look at that dashboard, you can tell it's supposed to be a self-driving car.
Yeah.
There's a computer screen, and that's
it is very minimal.
And that's it. There's
Totally.
What is like 14-inch computer screen?
So you can.
It basically has an iPad stuck to it.
It will be more expensive if you don't pay up front. So it's $8,000, which is the 5 plus 3 up front. If you want to upgrade it later, $10,000.
That's not awful. I sort of take it as like that's fine. And when you put your reservation in, you didn't put your reservation in thinking you'd have the ability to have a 300-mile range, did you?
Well, no.
No, we didn't know what. I mean, the range announcement I think is a plus.
When your number comes up, I think you have the option of deferring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until they have the options that you want available.
Yeah, so and also not only is it increased range, but your 0 to 60 speed is tuned, and that's all software again.
Mm-hmm.
0 to 60 is going to be a little faster. It's not ludicrous speed, but it's going to be fast
the
car.
base model is what, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds.
5.6.
That's plenty.
Ridiculous.
That's plenty fast.
5.6.
The 0.8 seconds worth.
Ryan McCaffrey asked Elon over Twitter if they were going to have a performance model because they haven't announced anything about that yet.
And this would be the ludicrous mode.
Yeah,
Ryan McCaffrey is an old friend of ours who runs a Tesla podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He's a huge, unabashed Tesla fan.
And Elon said next year. So
Next year.
that's what supposedly it'll be all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And we'll have all the fixins, which,
Mhm.
I mean, if you're already over 60,000 now, that's going to be 70? Who knows?
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big differential between the entry price and the fully
This is
maxed out
not
price.
something, I mean, in terms of premium cars, if you're talking compared to a BMW 3 Series car, which is what, like, the standard luxury car. That's a $30,000 to $35,000 car without the upgrades, again. But the Tesla stuff, it's I mean, and the fact that they have 500,000 pre-orders.
Yeah.
They're getting 1,800 orders a day.
But they're also
after
saying
lunch.
if everything goes according to plan, that if you order one today, you'll get it next year.
So that's the other big news, the production ramp, right? They talked about they've made 50 so far, and they have this curve. If everything according to plan, which logistically, you know, we're not talking about making 18 million iPhones. We're talking about making 500,000 cars, which actually is probably more complicated. It's a different type of logistic problem. They have the factory, the Gigafactory.
Dude, Al Gore thinks that graph is nuts. That is such a ramp up. It's like a doubling and a doubling of the doubling in that short period of time. That is super non-trivial.
Yes,
I get that
absolutely.
he has the biggest factory that's ever existed on planet Earth.
Is it supply chain or is it manufacturing or is it labor?
I think they've got manufacturing down. I bet that they've got that figured out.
So you think it's supply chain is purely a problem, the batteries?
Oh, and I for every other part that they can't make themselves. I mean, that's what they're relying on.
I mean, when has a manufacturing process ever gone so smoothly that their projections basically had no buffer built in for any sort of failures?
Game frame manufacturing went pretty smooth.
You know, I heard stories from your wife this weekend about the labor you put them through to peel stickers off of laser cut panels.
I had to
the whole family
call them in order to meet deadlines.
Yes.
There is news today that Tesla only has enough cash on hand for 3 quarters too.
Is that true?
Yeah.
What do you mean for 3 quarters?
That's how much cash they have on hand for operations for 3 quarters. But they have money coming in.
3 quarters of a year? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so they have money coming in, so it's like the solvency isn't an issue, but it's like they're not Apple that is basically more GDP than most countries kind of thing.
No, it's interesting. So they really have, I mean, and this is what you would expect, but they have bet the farm on the Model 3.
Yeah, they have. And, I mean, it seems like a worthy bet. I don't want to sound cynical because I think the car looks amazing. I think 300-mile range solves almost every anxiety concern out there.
Well, also the doubling of superchargers promise next year.
That's a big deal.
And just even like forget about the range for a second. We're talking about a car that's in a $30,000 to $50,000 range. The affordability in that marketplace is so much more. The penetration they'll have in the U.S. In markets everywhere is just tremendous. I see this as a massive changer. But
I wonder how comfortable you weren't finished. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the big but is like, can they deliver on all of this? Now we're in a situation where flowery talks aren't going to cut it anymore. Now it's cars on the road.
They'll deliver. I bet they'll deliver. I bet it's going to be a big deal. People are going to love this car. I look at that dashboard, though, and I wonder how many people are going to be comfortable driving this thing. Like this pain period before it's self-driving, where you have to use this speedometer in the corner of your LCD panel rather than where you're used to seeing it below the windshield. I wonder if that's going to be a good experience or not. I don't think opening the glove compartment using your LCD panel, which is, by the way, how you do it.
That's ridiculous.
Is a good idea
that's
necessarily.
Not, no, yeah.
There's a lot of functionality that is restricted based on the fact that this is supposed to be a self-driving car.
Right.
I definitely don't want to park my Tesla on the street with its like 14-inch iPad screen just like sticking out either.
Oh, somebody's going to take it?
No,
but you know what I mean. Like it's definitely the screen sticks out. It's very prominent in the design.
Right. Yeah, and things that we're finding out. I mean, I'd love to hear from anyone who actually went on a test ride last week. But like the comfort of sitting in the car. Have you guys ever ridden in Model X's?
I've never ridden in a Tesla.
You know, you've never ridden in a Tesla?
Done. I mean,
Wow.
not undone.
Let's get you in a Tesla. Like the seats are really interesting. They're really thin seats, almost like a really nice airplane seats. Like they're not just built into the car. It's like the interior design is really interesting. There's also a camera that people have noticed inside
for the driver.
for the driver.
Oh,
And
front facing, like
yes,
driver facing.
exactly. Like that, I assume is for autopilot purposes to monitor driver awareness, whether they're actually looking at the road or asleep or detect eyes. I mean, it's going to be a necessary part of safety.
Well, they have reviewed all of their sensor data numerous times when the cars got in accidents.
Right.
And
right.
this is going to be pretty useful in terms of proving what the driver was doing.
The other infrastructure difference is, what does it mean on the freeways when you have 500,000 self-driving cars from one company on a freeway? Like their information's going to get better over time. There's going to be a network effects just for their autopilot. And how well will these cars play with the other self-driving, half self-driving features of other cars and their behavior? Because right now they're being trained to react to human driving behavior, unexpected human driving behavior, but is more predictable machine driving behavior in other companies, is that going to be compatible? Don't know. I'm glad I'm not one of the first 50.
Oh, sure. You feel that way about a lot of products. But did you keep your reservation?
Kept my reservation.
I might back out.
Well, you bought a
Yeah,
car.
you have an
all electric car.
And I do like my car. The seats are not that comfortable, but
But you can only go 200 miles.
I maxed it out, and I still, I still paid, after rebates with, less than 40,000. So it's, I don't know, it's difficult. It's difficult. So I might back out. Although I'm gonna wait until I get access to that designer, and enter that. Maybe if I can find somebody to give me a ride in a Tesla.
Yeah.
I'll see what that feels like.
No, we have listeners out there who own Teslas that we'd love to maybe bring it in.
The other thing is,
That's
it's a foot and a half longer than the Bolt. The Bolt is significantly shorter. And for my personal parking situation at home,
Living here in San Francisco, where small cars are
A foot is
valuable,
it's a long.
That's a big.
yeah.
difference.
Absolutely. Does it self-park? It doesn't self-park.
I think with the $5,000 option, it does.
Oh.
That's one of the things you get now.
I don't trust in San Francisco. You don't want to have cars self-park.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Learning how to park is a rite of passage. We're
Yes.
eliminating that
Yes.
from
That's
people's
fine.
lives.
That's fine.
In San Francisco, uphill, one-way street, left side of the street.
You got to get
backwards.
in before the traffic gets to you from the light turning
Ooh,
green behind you.
That's a good amount of fear. That's a good healthy amount of fear for your personal constitution. Okay, the other big technology news, Bitcoin.
What about it?
Bitcoin has forked.
What does that mean?
It's forked.
It's forked.
That's a split term.
Yes, it has split.
What, huh?
There is a new cryptocurrency that has split from Bitcoin that is called Bitcoin Cash. And the way this works, so it's technically a new cryptocurrency, but based on the same algorithms as Bitcoin, not completely from scratch.
Oh.
And also, it's a fork in that anyone who own Bitcoin value, that history gets merged into this new cryptocurrency.
Well, why would you do this?
Wait, but now fork implies the old still exists.
The old still exists. So if you had Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, guess how much Bitcoin value is right now?
$500.
No.
Oh, okay. Let me just put some context. Okay, hear the disappointment in my voice. Hear the regret and sadness in my voice.
I hear it.
And I'll give you the context again. Bought Bitcoin at about $600. Saw it go down to $300.
Oh, I bet it's
sold it early this year for a little over $1,000.
Oh my gosh.
It's clearly.
Right? And I should be happy. I made my couple $100 back. Sorry, Norm's Bitcoin. What do you think Bitcoin is right now?
I'm gonna say it's like $1,500.
No, this is $1,800 disappointment. I feel like.
What is it?
Wait, it is, as of right now, $2,700.
Oh my god.
It reached $3,000 earlier.
Are you serious?
There isn't enough disappointment in your voice then.
I can't believe that.
Yeah. So Bitcoin has tripled this year. Tripled.
No. That's wrong.
It has from its low point a factor of 10. It's split. Now the split is interesting because unlike stock splits, it's not like your value that you own got divvied up into different things. Anyone who owned, let's say you owned one Bitcoin before pre-split. You own almost $3,000 worth of on the market, open market Bitcoin.
Right on.
After the split, you still own 1 Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
and you own 1 Bitcoin Cash.
I do?
Yes.
I doubled my money?
No. It's a different market. You win.
That's not how things work at all.
So because Bitcoin Cash, which people can mine, is on a separate exchange, like it is valued differently. Like it's easier to mine. And right now, the market price for Bitcoin Cash is about $400 per coin. So you got quote unquote free money.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I still don't understand you. So I still have my $3,000
still
Bitcoin.
But the idea is that because it's split and there's more, the value of Bitcoin itself might self-regulate and go down because of that also.
So wait a minute. There is some like crucial details here. So Bitcoin partially worked because there was a big community that backed the cryptocurrency. Are
exchanges
Yeah.
and yep.
Are they backing the new cash thing?
Not as well. So while there is a market for it and is valued at around $400 right now, it's very difficult to actually use the Bitcoin Cash currently. That's not to say that it might find legs and it might have the infrastructure built up around it, and you just got free money. Extra regret. This is like the twist in the story that I wish I could be invested in financially. I'm not going to buy another Bitcoin.
So we didn't answer one fundamental question. Why did they force a split?
Who forced it?
The community forced it, and I had heard, and I apologize if I get this wrong, internet commenters, that they forced the split partially because the blockchain processing took a really long time, and so now there's essentially too many Bitcoins for them to process in a reasonable amount of time. So they split the blockchain to sort of double capacity. That doubling is probably not the right phrasing there, but to increase the capacity of transaction processing.
Yep. I think that's right.
But that is nuts. Like, this is like, I know I've eaten all sorts of crap on this podcast before for people being like, you don't believe in Bitcoin. This volatility is insane.
It's the new reality. It may be the new reality of finance. Like, if you're writing a speculative fiction novel right now, you got to talk about how it's not just dollars. It's dollars, Bitcoins, Bitcoin Cash, and whatever forks. There are 1,000 different cryptocurrencies in the world right now of varying volatilities and values. And maybe the future, it's about, it's about juggling all of that in your bank account.
I don't understand how this works at all.
There is actually a really good Radiolab episode about the origins of some cryptocurrencies that came out just recently that I'll put in the show notes for those who are like us that are like, what is happening here? I don't get how the exchanges work because they aren't operating like a typical currency exchange. It is operating like a currency exchange of a country under duress because of that volatility.
Yeah.
Let's pivot to talk about something you do understand, and that's Apple products.
Do I understand that either?
We're getting ever closer to the September. It's August right now. So next month, Apple is expected to announce a new iPhone, and there have been some leaks. Leaks about...
You don't say.
About this new iPhone Pro or whatever we're going to call it.
Yeah.
Icons have been released. So HomePod, which is still not out. I guess it's still end of this year.
Yeah.
Their speaker system.
But they have firmware out for that.
Right, because the speculation is that Apple has been seeding its employees to test HomePod, and they need software and firmware for that. Something got uploaded to the public, and in that firmware was picked apart references to the new iPhone, including iconography that shows the screen, and it looks like
no bezel.
Mostly no bezel. On the bottom, the left, and the right, and the top, there is a little bit of a lip for the speaker and front-facing camera. Is the anticipation, and so that's the latest from Apple. Now they did have their earnings report, and
oh my God, this earnings report was one of the I can't fathom these numbers earning report.
So I know, I guess it was a major year with what was this? What was the newest iPhone? Was it
7?
7? I mean, I guess that's a major year. Although it wasn't that different of a phone.
No, you didn't pick it up,
and everyone knows that this year's the big phone.
Right? And in their crappy quarter, the quarter before the announcement of the new phone. They had some record sales. The amount of cash Apple has is just astounding. Just not their market cap, not the value of their stock, but just how much cash on hand they can use to buy things.
$261.5 billion.
Enough to buy Tesla if they wanted to.
Tesla and Ford and every other electric car maker known to man.
Cash. Yeah.
I think they're trying to buy the moon, guys. I think that's how. The only reason to hoard this much gas is to save up to buy the moon. That's the only thing worth this much money.
Carve it into an Apple logo.
But some fears. So if you look at some of the growth numbers on Apple versus other phone manufacturers, especially in China, where they really wanted to have a foothold, because that's where they see a lot of their growth coming. The iPhone has not done so well in China.
Is that true?
Yeah, compared to some of the Chinese Android phones that have come out in terms of the growth. There's still a ton of people, don't get me wrong, using iPhones in China, and it's still very much a prestige product. But big news, they have in China taken away VPN apps from the App Store.
That's a big crackdown.
To comply with the Great Firewall. Huge.
No surprise, really. They created this law months ago in China, and Apple seems to.
And so it was a law that said no VPN apps, and so Apple's quote unquote complying with the law.
No VPN usage. On the internet.
Right.
In order to circumvent the Great Firewall.
So to comply with that, they've taken down the apps to comply with this, but also it's playing ball in a market that they know they need. Not only for customer base and potential growth, but also for manufacturing. We're talking about it's still all freaking made in those factories in China.
I mean, I think, if we're talking about control and censorship, I also think that it's been suggested that the momentum towards, capitalism and open markets and freedom is too great, and that the government can't fight it for long. Yeah. So they'll try to in the meantime, but the momentum is towards the better good.
Do we feel like we've given up on the idea that Apple's going to do a TV, and given up on the idea that Apple's not only going to make a TV, but also maybe a car?
What's the difference between an Apple TV and an Apple TV connected to a TV? What's the difference?
In terms of the user experience, or in terms of the potential business there?
User experience.
The user experience is if they made the physical screen, then switching channels, switching inputs would be the user experience for that. The terrible user experience of turning on a TV and pressing and having the terrible physical remote with half the buttons you don't use, that would go away, I think, if they made their own physical TV.
Or it could be Siri controlled, I guess.
And it could potentially look better. I think TVs look generally good, but I think there's a lot of room for it to be redesigned and reimagined.
And uniformity.
Most TVs look the same.
Uniformity also in the content and the content experience. So I think there's totally a missed path by Apple. I'm sure at some point they were exploring what Apple should have done, and we've talked about this before, they should have bought Netflix, right? They should have bought Netflix years and years ago and own the content. Netflix was the natural way to supplant iTunes in terms of how people are going to consume video in the modern age. And if they had owned something like Netflix, and if they did that, and that would make it a lot more sense for them to make the TVs, not just the boxes to stream them, because those TVs would have the best. They would control the content and how the content looked on those screens, and we'd get things like 4K HDR ubiquity much faster, or at least more consistent, as opposed to all the different standards right now. That seemed like a missed opportunity for them to take advantage of.
Here's the thing: people don't buy TVs that often, though.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. People buy Apple products very often, unnecessarily. Yeah. So,
you could use the HomePod as surround speakers.
Apple also doesn't bet on companies that lose money.
Yeah. So, quick side note: Netflix. There's a report out in Variety. I want to say
Times.
LA Times. Netflix is operating at a loss of how much per year? Potentially?
It said they're $20 billion in debt right now.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a tenth of the Apple money pot. That I'm sure Netflix has. I mean, and they've been growing. They have 100 million users,
and it grew 25% in terms of year over year.
But they're going to have to. I think they're going to change their model eventually.
Would you pay more for Netflix?
I think that's what's going to happen. I think Netflix is eventually positioning themselves in a place where they can increase prices and have users be okay with that. For the amount of content you're getting right now for Netflix, that $10 a month you pay is a ridiculous bargain that no streaming service can compete with. Amazon can compete with it because they have this extra value add that's been their foothold into your bank account, which is the Prime subscription, which is over $100 a year now, right? And Netflix wants to get you to pay $20 a month. You know, right now they want you to double what you invest in, so that when you think of things like movies, how much do you spend on movies? Like a relatively active moviegoer, you spend more than $20 a month in movies. You're going to watch more than 2 movies in theaters a month if you're an active moviegoer.
No.
If they're investing in movies like Bright, that we talked about last week, the Will Smith movie, and things like Okja, where I would have seen it in theaters and spent $20 just to watch those, $25 to watch those movies in theaters, but they are the convenience of being able to, the day it's out, to be a part of that water cooler talk, be part of the Twitter talk, and watch that on my Netflix account at home, that's worth spending a little more on Netflix every month.
I think maybe Netflix tones it down a little bit. Like, there's too much stuff on Netflix. I think they went after a little bit too much prestige this past year, like comedy special every week.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle.
What's the HBO model, right?
Well, HBO's toned down from that. HBO is quality over quantity, and I think
HBO
Netflix
also
is gonna find some middle ground there.
Also, the big difference, obviously, is the schedule. HBO, there's no incentive for HBO to pack their programming every month of the year. They do like the 2 or 3 shows on that people are watching at a time, with the occasional special or movie. And then once Game of Thrones is over, then they'll start promoting another series to get you on the hook week to week. Netflix it's just a faucet. It's a hose.
Yeah, I wonder, maybe they need to do the HBO model for that.
Space things out a little more.
Yeah, weekly releases.
I
don't know. My family is so locked into Netflix, it's not even funny. I mean, I'm scared, but they could charge whatever they want.
And we're talking about a family. It's $10 a month right now for a whole family to watch.
We pay the $15 because
the $15?
We want like the 4K and as many devices as possible.
Right.
Because we all use it.
What's an upper cap on what you'd pay for Netflix?
Well, it's all we use. I mean, it really is we rarely watch anything else. So, $25.
Yeah.
Wow.
A month.
25, which is,
it's only $10 more than what we're paying now. But yeah, we'd pay that, no question.
I mean, this is Comcast money, right? When your cable money, the crazy bills that people are complaining about, paying upwards of $100 a month for their cable bill.
That's the thing. We don't do that.
Right. So once the shift really flips, and that's the fear that every cable, every cable satellite provider is worried about right now. Once that money goes away, where are people going to spend that? Do they want to spend it? Historically, I think people are going to be willing to. And if Netflix can own that up, then they'll eliminate that $20 billion in debt real fast.
I wonder if Apple will come around. Will actually buy a service that does that or launch their own.
Do you think they're in the business of media anymore? iTunes was a big deal, but
I'm just saying, like, they did it with music. They used to just sell a la carte, and then they came out with what do they call it? Apple Music or whatever the streaming service is.
Yeah, they bought Beats for that.
And that's confusing. As first, like, if you search for a song, you don't know if you're going to get the store or the stream version, which you might already be paying for. But there's no reason, if that's worked for them, they wouldn't do it with video too.
So they tried some TV type content this year that's been really poorly received.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. It seems like they're betting on some content pieces, but it's not the heavy push that we know Apple.
I think them betting on content pieces would only make sense if it gave them a competitive advantage in the hardware, just like iTunes for the iPod.
Like coming up with a custom instead of 4K, some custom Apple sort of delivery.
But since they're not in the TV game, and the Apple TV game is now they're not in a position of strength in that ecosystem where they really have to work with the content providers who've wised up post iTunes and post even streaming music services like Spotify. Their next play is going to be AR. Like, the thing they're going to bet on is once everyone every year upgrades their iPhone, they're going to sell you an additional accessory that's going to be tethered to your iPhone. That's going to be your AR glasses.
I hope so.
And I think it's going to be tethered to your iPhone is my bet.
I hope the new phone, that's the bezel, you know how much I care about that? 0. But if they have a new 3D sensing AR technology, that's exciting to me.
Just in the camera?
Yeah.
So you're okay with AR being something you're holding up on the phone?
Oh, no. I mean, I can't wait for the glasses.
For the glasses.
But
to get there.
Yeah, just to get there, to experiment, to do things now. The AR demos I've seen so far using existing technology are so promising.
Right.
But from what I understand from developers, it's still difficult. Like, it's still, the tracking isn't 100%.
Right.
So if they can nail that with better 3D
incrementally
sensing,
improve it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already compelling now, putting hot dogs on the side of airplane wings and on your desk.
The measuring tape and things like that is super compelling.
I mean, I think the novelty use, right? The thing that are going to make it socially acceptable are the things like the more frivolous things, your Snapchat features and your distortion of your reality, and making that socially acceptable for people to hold their phones out and to look through the pain of your phone as an AR device is going to be an essential step to getting people to be socially accepting of wearing some type of goggles. You can't make that jump from now to goggles without getting people already holding their phones out. And Pokemon Go did that to some extent.
Yeah.
But with ARKit and with whatever comes out with this next iPhone, which is why I think their glasses are going to be like 2 years out. You need ARKit to evolve, the app ecosystem for that to evolve, the hardware to be more powerful enough. But once the glasses comes out, my bet is that it's going to be something that's going to be tethered to your phone, because then that makes you want to upgrade a display in your glasses every year or whatever, every other year. And then also the processing power locally on your phone.
Like the watch.
Just like the watch.
Yeah.
Every other year. It's going to be an accessory, not a standalone device.
They're also working on a car. Don't forget about that.
You think that's real?
Yeah, there was just another article where Tim Cook said they're still making a big investment in it. They believe in AI automobiles.
How does that implement? Is it a car they will sell for you, to sell to you, Tesla style?
Right.
They don't have a gigafactory.
I can't imagine.
We know if they had a gigafactory.
They have tried giving selling the bits and letting someone else make the hardware, and it never works for them.
Mm-hmm. Your iOS integration in your car is, I think,
that's
mediocre.
Your CarPlay you're talking about.
CarPlay.
It's but that is a situation where they still control like everything except the display itself. So they can't tell what touch technology it is or the aspect ratio perfectly or the size of the screen. So you're right. There's some flexibility there, but they've had to do that with TVs too in some degree.
So unless they make a full car, I don't see them releasing like a dashboard replacement running iOS.
No, I think that's going to be a car.
You think it's going to be an actual car?
I do.
I don't think even Google wants to make a car.
If you look at some of the latest designs of their self-driving car, I think they might agree. It's pretty ugly.
Yeah, it's function over form.
All right, let's jump to this is an interesting story. Rare finds on eBay.
Okay.
Or thrift stores even.
Oh yeah, did you guys see this?
Yeah.
I didn't even know this existed. I wish Steve Lynn was here because he would have known all about this. But apparently, the Atari 2600, right?
Sure.
Did you have one? Did you have one?
Yeah.
Okay, so that
Brother had one, but same diff.
That was the original Atari. It came out in 1977.
Yep.
And
wood paneling.
Yeah, wood paneling had came with combat, and there was an Atari 2700. I had no idea. Somebody found one in a thrift store in California for like $30, right?
What was different about it?
The only difference was that it had wireless controllers, and they weren't.
You have to like really picture a wireless controller that you have to extend the antenna out of.
It had an old school antenna, like old cell phones, where you like metal, like an RC car, where you
like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, exactly. A
telescoping,
exactly.
Aluminum, easy to bend.
Oh yeah. And then
wow.
1980s, baby.
Okay.
And apparently, like the funniest thing ever is the reason that this console did not take off. There were only prototypes made; they never manufactured it. Was because of these wireless controllers. The wireless controllers were not paired to the console, and they had a range of like several thousand feet. So if your neighbors had an Atari 2700 and you did, then you'd control their console and vice versa. And like there was, there's player 1 and player 2. That was it. Like you had two controllers working on two different frequencies, and that was it. But that's funny. So the guy found it. It didn't come with the controllers.
Oh. Did it have ports for the 2600 controllers?
Yeah, you could also plug in 2600 controllers. Anyway, he sold it on eBay for, I don't even know.
A handsome fee, $3,000.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
Jeremy, when are you going to invite us over to play your new Atari
Yeah,
2700?
They have them at the Computer Museum in Oakland. I
Oh.
think they have maybe 3 of them. I think.
Or in Palo Alto, Cupertino.
Is that where?
Are you
The
talking about
computer
Computer
history-
History
Oh,
Museum?
I'm talking about the Video Game Museum. There's one in Oakland. Anyway, it's National Video Game Museum. I don't know where that is. Anyway, that was cool. I didn't even know that existed, so I learned something.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna save my money for maybe that new Atari console that they're releasing
With the wood paneling.
with the wood paneling, as well as the SNES Classic, SNES Classic.
Did you pre-order one?
No, because it wasn't a real pre-order.
What do you mean?
So last week on Walmart, people were able to pre-order the SNES Classic, and the internet lost its mind. People rushed to pre-order, sold out immediately, and then it turned out it wasn't a true pre-order, so all of them were refunded.
What does that mean? Not a true pre-order.
I don't think it was authorized, like they didn't have the pricing right, or
Oh.
like it wasn't put into the system properly.
'Kay.
You can't just say give me money. I could say, give me money and I'll eventually deliver. Pre-order SNES Classics from me and I'll deliver them eventually.
When is the actual pre-order supposed to go up? Like this month sometime?
It better be. We're in August right now. It's a holiday release.
It's not a holiday. It's much earlier. Not.
Well,
it's like next month.
It's
isn't
a holiday. It's gonna
Yeah.
be a big gifting
Yeah.
item,
I
hot
can't-
item for.
Can't
for
wait to see how
Christmas.
they've changed it. I really want to see if there's better DRM or Wi-Fi.
That's why I'm holding off. There's no reason. I'm not gonna want to jump into it unless I know it's significantly better and as compatible as the NES Classic. 'Cause
Yes.
the NES Classic's great.
That's right.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of these devices do I really want to plug into a living room TV anyway. You need HDMI switchers.
Gary
Tons of 'em.
Gary Whitta got one.
He got a NES Classic?
yesterday. I don't know how he did it. He got it from ThinkGeek.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't even know how.
Final supply.
Yeah.
Last bits.
I had a friend get one. My friend that runs the Southern Fried Gaming Expo
Mm-hmm.
in Atlanta got one because Amazon did this promotion where it's called Treasure Trove, I think is what it's called, where you like click on it through the app and they connect you with a local dealer for a daily like Woot style daily deal, and then you have to go pick it up.
Like, do you have to get there first?
You have to order it and then go pick it up
Oh.
from like a vendor, which is like,
That's cool.
but it's bizarre because it doesn't come to you. You have to go
Yeah.
to it. And the NES Classic was on there yesterday or 2 days ago.
How retro.
Hmm.
The National Video Game Museum is in Frisco, Texas. They have the 2700 there.
Different Frisco.
Yeah. Because we did talk about Apple phones, let's talk quickly about Samsung phones. The Galaxy Note not dead, despite some the Note phones, despite some fire hazards and some debacles last year. But
It's understated how big of a debacle that
Yeah.
was.
but apparently there will be a Galaxy Note 8 announced later this month on the 23rd, and the specs have hit some websites. This will be a waterproof phone, a massive phone with a 6.3-inch display.
That's way too big.
Well, that's their line. I mean,
that's-
the Note with the pen.
Yeah.
That it's supposed to be not for pockets. It's supposed to be for purses and handbags and backpacks.
Ooh, I got to get my purse.
And it doesn't have as reduced bezel as I think the Galaxy 8. The Galaxy 8, which has a really greatly reduced bezel. This one still has a pretty significant forehead, and chin on the bottom.
If we could never talk about small bezels again, ever, I'd be perfectly happy.
It's
You don't think it's
the tech word of
I
2017,
think
Jeremy.
we have lost sight of what matters if this is exciting to us. That's all.
well? It's design, right? It's user experience. I mean, it's gonna matter on the Apple side if we're talking about how this is gonna replace Touch ID.
Yeah, no, that's a question.
And then the camera is going to be two 12-megapixel sensors on the back of the phone. I think 2 cameras on back of phones is here totally to stay, both on the Android side and on the iOS side. And optical zoom is also enabled on this. USB-C, of course. So that's expected to be announced August 23rd.
Is optical zoom a thing on Android phones?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you have optical zoom meaning, I guess, one's going to be higher focal length.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's-
optical zoom meaning switching between the 2 cameras, not an actual mechanical
Okay.
optical zoom.
There's some terrible Android phone that has a mechanical zoom thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
Do you still use YouTube TV, Kishore?
I do. I don't think I'm gonna keep it.
Oh,
It's just like without sports, no value, and we
Well, there
are
are
in
sports.
the worst sports part of the sports calendar,
season. Yeah, right now.
where there's a bunch of baseball on.
Well,
Ugh.
especially in the Bay Area, not great baseball. You're waiting for football and basketball season, and football's dead, I heard. So just
Football
basketball
is
season.
dead. Yeah, people weren't happy about that statement last week, by the way.
So another live TV service that you may want to tap into when you're thinking about reevaluating is may come from Plex. Plex
No,
is taking its live TV service with DVR and also letting you tap into Apple TV and Android to play it there.
oh, that's cool.
So
That's a nice little feature. Plex has had some instability with me when I've used some of their services in the past, so that's why I had that initial no reaction. I love Plex in my home, but part of the advantage of these services is the on-the-go, and that's where I think Plex loses a little bit of its luster.
Would you consider any of the people in this room, would you consider yourself a digital native?
That sounds very millennial. I'm going to say yes, though.
You consider? Oh, you looking at me?
No. I'm saying
you're
I'm
saying-
saying I'm a digital native. Yes.
No, I would not say that because, no.
Do you think conceptually, do you think there's a fundamental difference between how you interact with technology and someone like your sons interact with technology?
Yes, I do.
You know, the thing is, I grew up and I no one explained it to me, right? I had to figure out the computer. I had to figure out the VCR. I had to figure out the answering machine. Nobody understood this stuff. And so I had to tinker with it, and I figured this stuff out. And now I'm the person who explains it to everybody, even the next generation. So they are at a disadvantage.
I think if we interviewed your son, he might have a different perception.
I don't think so. He's always asking me to fix things.
Mm.
You know, he can't get on PlayStation Network. He made a purchase. It's not showing up. Dad, fix it. You know, so it's like constantly...
That's why you have your computer, your video game museum that you've built.
And
You can have them run their own tech support.
yeah, and I'm pushing back. By the way, my son said last night, "Dad, can we play more of that Space Quest game?"
Whoa.
Wow, victory.
Wow.
Mission accomplished.
Victory.
Yes.
By the way, can you get me some app access on my new phone? You're being played, Jeremy.
Why are you asking if we're digital natives or not?
The idea of a digital native may be just a myth and a fallacy. So there's a story on, I guess it's on Nature, saying that younger people, even though they may have learned technology differently, they're no better at multitasking and using technology. People in this room, totally just as capable of using and adapting to the new ways of technology as younger people. We may use different apps. We may not get all the same apps, but there's no fundamental difference in the brain and your way that you learn.
I think there's a familiarity level that matters, though. You know, if you are using the web and you understand how URLs work, little things, you know.
Well, that's like the whole point is to take that layer away from people intentionally,
Yeah.
right? There are things about the internet that I grew up with that I didn't grow up with that would be super useful. I never really did. What are those things for file transfer? Let's say file transfer is a perfect example, right? The history of file sharing and file transfer. Back then, use groups were used for file transfer. I never got to experience that, but would you say that someone who had to use those type of network services for file transfer and file sharing or have a better understanding of internet protocols and the way files are actually moved around than someone that uses Apple now and they don't even have to save their files? Everything is just where they are as long as they're signed on the same account.
I used Usenet a lot. I grew up on like bulletin boards and all of that stuff. I don't think I understand the underlying architecture better than somebody that has some baseline experience in computer science. I might know it better than somebody who's just has that interface you're talking about, but not much better. And why does it even matter if I do?
That's the point. It doesn't matter. And so like the web address, I think people growing up and people maybe like the web address going away because of how people browse the internet through Google or browse the internet through Facebook, I think that's okay.
I totally disagree. I think being familiar with computers is like knowing another language. And I'm not talking about programming. I'm just talking about this innate sense about what's wrong with the problem that you're having. Where do you start first, and what's the domino effect that things cause that could possibly be causing this?
So the ideal scenario is everyone going forward for you is to go through those learning hurdles and before earn the UX or the conveniences.
I mean, but like, when's the last time you had to like edit your registry for something? Like
this morning.
What?
That's so funny you say that. We were doing an interview, and we had to edit our registry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong then.
I mean, and if people do, I guess the pool of users also is changing. Like the sample size completely changing, right? I think net number of people who understand like things like registry and things like IP code, that number is going up as more people work in these fields and there are more programming jobs available, right? But also total number, they become a smaller subset of the total number of technology users just because everyone is using technologies these days.
Yeah.
That's just...
I still think we're in a transition period. Like, it's the transition to we don't have to know how to use computers is still happening. It'll happen. They'll just be AIs in the future.
And it'll just be voice interface. And
Yeah.
I think people are always going to be curious and going to want to understand. If they want to pursue that, there'll always be a pocket of the internet or a part of tech support or forums that will let you learn about how these things work.
Power users.
Yeah. There'll always be power users.
Good.
Yeah. Would you consider I guess millennials and the digital natives use different apps? I would not consider myself a power user in that sense because I just don't get those apps. Like, do you have Snapchat?
I do, but I don't use it.
No,
You guys have
I don't use
Instagram?
Snapchat. Yeah, I have Instagram.
How much Instagram do you use a day?
Not much. I lurk more than I use. But I do Instagram's easy to navigate.
Super easy, right?
Yeah.
Even though I also have Instagram and have Snapchat, I lurk and maybe participate. I completely underestimated the level of interaction and engagement that people, younger kids, millennials, quote unquote digital natives, have with these programs.
Yeah.
How much do you think a typical user of Instagram under the age of 25 uses Instagram per day?
In terms of minutes?
Minutes.
20.
I'll say in Instagram?
Instagram, where you're liking photos and scrolling.
I know that that's more popular than Twitter. So I don't know. Like an hour.
It's half an hour.
Okay.
Which to me says that's still a lot because it's not a service you can use on your web browser. It's only an
Is
app.
that right? Huh.
No, you can see it on the web, but
Yeah,
you can't
kinda.
use
Yeah,
it.
You can't really use it on the web. People are on their phone. Anyone under 25, at least on average, 32 minutes per day. And those above 25, 24 minutes per day.
It's not that different.
It's not that different at all. It feels like a lot.
That is a lot.
It's a lot of minutes.
Doing what? Like Instagram stories or what?
Exactly,
What?
I guess.
Commenting on LeBron's workout videos. What's going on that platform?
Instagram Stories has 250 million daily users.
What?
And that whole story mechanism, which started off with Snapchat has 166 million. Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
Get out of that Snap IPO.
I know. Well, Snap also, the rumor is that they want to buy a hover.
What's
You know
Hover?
that quadcopter I reviewed, the foldable one that does selfies of you that
Yeah.
I didn't like that much? Word is they may want to buy that company, which I'm not sure why you would want to.
Attach it to the Snap spectacles.
Yeah, deploy quadcopter from your Snap spectacles. Take a picture of the quadcopter while it's taking a picture of you.
The thing is, like, our generation saw the precursors to Snapchat, right, and Instagram. It was called like mo-blogging. That's what they called it, mobile blogging, where it was photos, and instead of like having a blog, you would just post photos, and they called it, photo blog or mo-blog.
And like Tumblr.
Yeah, and it just seemed like there were so many of those, just as there were social networks, that the fact that we landed on something that seems to have stuck is the surprising thing. So that's what surprised me. Is like, why Facebook? Why Instagram? When it was one in a series of attempts at the same thing.
The big shift in my head is something that I can't grasp, really, and the fact that there is no one internet. And there isn't tens of internets. There are million. Everyone has their own internet. Like when we grew up, when you visit a web page, that was the web page. It's like same with TV. There were 10 channels, there were 50 channels with cable. When we grew up with the internet, there were dozens of web pages to millions of web pages. But what you saw on your computer screen was what I saw on my computer screen. We all went to the same websites.
Yes.
And that was the internet.
Right.
What's changed is because of the way these websites and the content is presented and curated, everyone's creating their own little pockets of internet.
Little echo chambers.
And the network effects of that mean that there's so many different, like, my experience is going to be completely different than the experience someone, even for using the same program, even if you're
Using
using
the same site.
the same content, it's going to be completely different than someone who's different age, different place, different gender, just completely different.
Yep.
And that's something that's very difficult for me to comprehend because I want to think of it as being a fixed thing.
Tested's fixed.
Yes. Maybe we're too much in the past. But yeah. Moving on. There's a big test for a Hyperloop that just happened.
Yeah, so we saw a test in Nevada. They built a tube as a 500-meter long test tube. They depressurized it to the equivalent of about 200,000 feet above sea level. And using magnetic levitation, they accelerated a Hyperloop cube to about 192 miles an hour at its peak before slowing down slowly.
Enormously.
200 miles per hour.
That's enormously expensive.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Wow. And they just, wow.
But but this is such an advance, right? I love the depressurizing. I don't know like how efficient like you vacuum pumps are going to be in order to depressurize a giant tube like this, to actually have it be a place for transport. But they loaded up cameras on this. There's some beautiful shots of this thing accelerating up and slowing down. And then even them loading this, test cube into the Hyperloop 1 chamber. It's exciting. This seems crazy. Like, this doesn't seem close.
No. Self-driving cars, autopilot cars on freeways seem closer than the Hyperloop is to being reality.
But it's still pretty cool.
Very cool. And expensive.
Yeah. We got one Hyperloop or sleep car. What are you more excited to try?
Hyperloop.
Sleep car.
Sleep car?
Sleep car. Hyperloop, it scares me a little bit.
I was talking to my friend about the sleep car, and they were asking the same questions we all had, like, how many people can fit in the car? Is it really one person per bed? And is an attendant? Like, is there a bathroom? And it's like, wow, if they try to cram two, if you meet someone, there's a chance encounter in the sleep car. You could join the Mile I-5 Club.
The mile what?
No.
High five?
No.
I-5.
No.
I don't understand what you
No.
mean.
Interstate I-5 is the freeway?
Oh, I-5.
No.
I think
Yeah.
it's high five.
No.
No. Punish us for that joke, Internet. Punish us.
Because sure, we'll have none of it. Any other bits of technology news you guys want to cover?
Nope.
Nope. All right. Well, then I want to thank the sponsor of this week's episode of This Is Only a Test, who lets us have these shenanigan talks about sleep cars, and that is Casper mattresses. Casper is an obsessively engineered mattress at a shockingly fair price. Supportive memory foams create an award-winning sleep surface with just the right amount of sink and just the right bounce. You can try Casper for 100 nights risk-free in your own home, and if you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything because they understand the importance of truly sleeping on a mattress before you commit, especially if you're going to spend over a third of your life on it. They're free shipping and returns to US and Canada. And with over 20,000 reviews and an average score of 4.8 stars, it's quickly becoming the internet's favorite mattress. Now, you can get $50 toward any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/test and using the offer code TEST. Terms and conditions may apply. And I'd love to try that sleep car service just to see if they're using these mattresses.
Now it's time for a moment of science. Portland is kind of a weird place, right?
Yeah.
Put a bird on it. They're always very avant-garde, very forward. So that's why, naturally, Portland is the first place in the U.S. that used CRISPR to edit human embryos.
It's real.
It did happen. Now, before you get too excited about it, what the actual experiment was is they took a number of embryos that were being used for IVF treatment. And a few of those embryos experienced a certain mutation that had a risk of causing sort of a defect, lack of a better term. And they edited out that defect using CRISPR and then put that back into sort of the IVF bundle. This actually wasn't, actually done in an IVF situation that was impregnated into a human being, but it was sort of a trial to see if they could edit out this mutation to make more embryos viable for IVF treatments. It kind of worked. The editing worked at the sites they expected it to, but the edits didn't always take hold in the way they wanted. Which is fine. That's actually just sort of a normal part of the research. I think there was more sort of consternation about this than anything else, but this signals the inevitable direction that this is going. Jennifer Doudna, who's credited as one of the first researchers to really tackle this issue, really indicated her discomfort with this progression ahead of public conversation on this topic. So,
and it happened in the U.S.
It did happen in the U.S.
Is it federally funded?
Put a CRISPR on it. No, I don't believe this study was federally funded, because there's still complications about a federally funded research in human embryo lines.
That's why I asked.
Hennepin County is outside of Minneapolis, and right now it has a measles outbreak.
No kidding.
Currently, there are 48 cases. When I heard about it this morning, there might be more. 3 of those cases have led to death of the children involved. And all but 2 of those cases involve children under the age of 10. What's different about this is Hennepin County has a high Somali immigrant population, and almost all of these measles cases are happening in that immigrant community. Why are they more susceptible to measles? Is there something happening? These immigrant communities have been the target of anti-vaccination activists and quote-unquote educators over the past number of years. They've been going to a number of cultural events in that town, targeting this community, warning them about the risks of vaccinations. And researchers, epidemiologists in Hennepin County have pointed to that intervention, that this group of anti-vaxxers constantly interacting with this Somali community has led to a decline in vaccination rates among them, directly leading to this outbreak. Fuck you, anti-vaxxers in Minneapolis. That's the end point of that conversation.
Children died because of this. That's fucked up.
It is totally messed up. While I would generally be really cautious about saying here's the link, here's what it is, especially in a case like this that happened over many years, the words from the epidemiologists in those counties are really very aggressively forward. One of them said that these anti-vaxxers have exploited, quote unquote, this community, that is a incredibly strong word for a scientist to use to describe what's going on. And then I have a study that is that is really just basically the most misleading titled study of the week. Norm, there was a study of perceptions of Asian Americans.
Oh.
Ready?
Yes.
I'm not targeting you in this, but I am targeting you in this. And they
Should I hold a mirror to your face?
Showed a number of pictures in the study of different Asian Americans to a wide sample of different people, and they were asked to classify who they felt were the more American versions of these people.
What were the differences?
The trait that sort of led to the most statistically significant, if I'm laughing about this, is because the study is totally messed up.
A U.S. American flag hat.
No. it was the fatter people led to a perception of those Asian Americans being more quote unquote American.
Well, they got that right.
Yeah, all this study really did was basically play on stereotypes that being fat is an American trait.
Or that other countries are malnourished and don't have the resources.
Yeah, I don't think it's real. I think it's a fat thing with us. It's a totally misleading study. It's not well designed, but if you come across like this headline, it's just totally ridiculous. That's it for this week.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week. Okay.
I gotta tell you, it was nice to unplug for a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was really glad to
Unplug from VR?
Well, what's funny is like going to Pinburgh is like entering the Oasis, but I did not follow the VR news while I was away.
You know, speaking of that, we did, while we did talk a little bit last week, this is the perfect time to get your download on the Ready Player One trailer.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So as you know, I love the book, and the trailer got me amped up again. So I'm reading it again for the 5th time, and I like the trailer a lot. You know, there's some concern because the meat of it is this car race that never happens in the book, and it's apparently the race for the Copper Key, and I'm okay with it. I'm expecting all kinds of concessions.
Concessions, adaptations,
yes.
Tightening.
Because they can't reproduce the book. It would be too expensive. It would take too long.
But there are aspects, and not to be super spoiler about it, but there are scenes in the trailer that are very clearly taken from the book. The dance party, they rolls up into the DeLorean,
just
for
like
example.
I imagined it,
and what are the things that you feel like they need to get in there? Like the recreation, the movie scenes?
No, for me it would be more like what you like about Game of Thrones. I want that dialogue. Like I want the banter between the characters in the clubhouse about, you know, who knows more about this stuff. Who's the better gunter? I want to know about the history of the characters and what the falling out between Halliday and Ogden or whatever his name was.
The world building.
I want the world building. Yeah.
That.
So
okay.
I mean, I'm concerned that they've thrown in an action sequence, which in the book is not an action sequence. It's like it's a Dungeons and Dragons, module. But I trust them. I trust them implicitly. And I guess the one thing that I walked away from was I was holding out hope, and which was fruitless. I shouldn't have held out any hope that it would be a trilogy, because I think it would make a great one.
It could make a great trilogy
because you've got 3 keys, and every key is just a key to a gate, which itself is the second part of you include that in the trilogy too. So it would really be a trilogy of the 3 gates, which, getting a key, opening the gate, all have these adventures involved.
You can't get Spielberg to invest in 3 movies, a trilogy.
I'm kind of surprised because I thought studios only wanted trilogies. Like they wanted they want franchises. So fitting all of this into a single movie is going to be tight.
You may get what you wish for, but in the wrong way. If this becomes a massive success, they may do spin-offs into the Oasis, into that world, and in other stories.
But at the end of the trailer, you see them insert the crystal key, which says that it's all in this movie.
Is there any part of you that is really excited about any sort of viral marketing campaign they do for this?
They're doing one. I mean, they're doing an ARG. It's already, it's embedded. Like there's
but I want something crazy. I want some crazy.
Well, they are
game.
partnering with Vive to do some type of VR thing.
Yeah.
I don't care about the VR piece as much as the actual, like, them setting up a really complicated long
The
game.
book had one. The book had a hidden game in it.
Mm-hmm.
The audio you couldn't tell in the audiobook, but in the book there were just like in Halliday's Grail Diary, there were notches and letters.
I didn't realize.
And so
in the printing, the actual printing.
Book, yeah. So if you read the book and you noticed this and you put this together, you could actually do this, puzzle. And people figured it out way too quick.
Oh.
So if there is something to this leading up to the movie, hopefully it'll be a little more complicated. In any case, I think it looks.
What did you think about the visual styling of the action scenes versus the real world?
It's funny because like normally with CG movies, you judge it whether or not it looks realistic or not. If it's a cartoon, you have a different approach. But this, they can do whatever they want because it's supposed to be computer rendered. It is an alternate universe that exists in virtual reality, so it can look imaginary or fake or rendered, and it does, But I think it's fine. I think it's fine, and I look forward to seeing more about what they what they do with that world. And I'm hoping that they do also go in a little bit to the technology. I like that in the book we learn about how it can scan facial reactions, and that's an option you can turn on or off. And people, betray their how they're actually feeling.
You think that's gonna be explored in the film?
I hope so, because I really like that. I really like how that made my imagination run
those are
wild
things
about
from
virtual
us
reality.
using VR are completely familiar with. Like if we had eye tracking and we want to, like those are things that we actually will have to contend with in the not so distant future.
Yeah.
I think like this is still for many people, it's still going to be like their first exposure to VR in mainstream pop culture since something like Lawnmower Man.
Yeah.
And so it's still going to be this over exaggerated version. And I don't think it's going to tap into too many of those issues.
I'm not saying they have to explain it. I'm just saying like it'd be nice if in a scene somebody had their facial expression mirrored accidentally, and then they toggle the switch and it turns off, just to build that reality. Because I think Ernest Cline was extremely imaginative.
And we have seen his trailer where he plays his VR. One thing I'll be interested to see, like his room, his VR in the trailer and in the photo. We've seen his play area, right?
Oh, you're talking about Wade Watson?
Yes, Wade's private, his sanctum. What we haven't seen is what that may look like later on if he gets his upgrade.
Yeah.
And what it may look like in other parts of the world, his teammates, the other Gunters, when they're like what it looks like in Japan.
Yeah.
Right? What VR is like, and that's what I'd like to see. What I'm more interested in the real world, I guess, than in the Oasis.
Well, there's that whole third act that it takes place in the real world.
Yeah.
So I hope that's a long part of the book. Another reason why I wanted it to be another movie. But yeah, so fingers crossed. But Spielberg and Ernest Cline gets a screenwriting credit. He's right up there with Zach Penn. So I have high hopes.
And Zach Penn was the one who did the E.T. documentary, the Atari E.T. game documentary.
He did?
Yeah, I believe so, right?
Wow. Did not know that. Yeah, you mean the digging up of the...
I want to say, I hope I'm not... yes, absolutely, yes. Atari Game Over.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Zach Penn directed that.
Oh,
So
wow.
he is totally... I mean, Mike probably knows him.
Yeah, and as well Ernest, because they were both in that movie.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's made by people who not only have the chops to Spielberg and his team have the chops to bring this to life, but also written by people who are in love with the medium and in love with.
How do you think the licensing works nowadays? Because I imagined that you'd have to pay people to use their licenses, but this seems like an opportunity for everyone to be in an awesome movie. So wouldn't they want to pay to be in it?
All depends on lawyers. So, for example, the close analogy was probably Wreck-It Ralph. Where a lot of us having Mario, having Donkey Kong, having Street Fighter in Wreck-It Ralph. I don't think Capcom was paid. I think they were asked. I think it was a handshake deal.
That would make sense.
But
like in the old days, like you'd have to pay them in order to use their license in the movie. But now it seems like free marketing.
Also, difference between what type of usage. If we're talking about characters and cameos, that may be different than music. Music, lawyers get way more involved when it's music tracks playing.
Or the last Lego game, the Lego movie, the second Batman movie, or the first Batman movie. There were all the villains in there from all the different Warner Brothers films.
Well,
Has there been any commentary from Rush about how they feel about things right now?
Well, they're not playing anymore, but I hope that they're happy with it.
I'm sure they
I loved Tom Sawyer. When that kicked in, I started applauding. That's the perfect song.
Cool.
Rush plays a role in the movie.
Spoilers.
Well, in the book. They're going to have to cut some things.
So a couple more things with VR. And this one, next story, not maybe so VR related, but may have implications VR. Have you guys heard of the Auto Glove?
Auto Glove?
Auto Glove.
No.
This is a firearms accessory. So Gizmodo has a story about this company that has made what looks like a power glove. You wear it, and it's not made for VR. It's made for shooting firearms. But the idea is that when you wear this, there's actuators, motors on the glove that when you fire, you get to feel the sensation of firing a machine gun.
So this video I'm watching is them recording it? Are they recording the movements of
No,
it?
that is it. You actually playing. So when you're firing a semi-auto weapon, you can actually then feel like you're firing an automatic weapon.
Oh.
Yeah. But there are implications of this potentially beyond firearms and in VR. And I would love to see but this it could be a haptic feedback device, basically. And I feel like it's going to be necessary. I think aggressive haptics is going to be necessary to make some games more fun.
What do you mean aggressive?
Like, think of a game like a pistol shooting game. What's Dead and Buried?
Okay.
Okay. When we played Dead and Buried, it was fun, but I felt like it was way too easy. I mean, not only with shooting down the sight, but like there was no the vibration on the controller was not strong enough to give me any recoil, which is something you have to take into consideration when you're firing a real firearm. And I think I would love to see a VR experience where the controller gives actually aggressive feedback.
Yeah,
and which we're going to see some of that with the Vive stuff.
I mean, you already saw that with that weird hot-cold device that you were talking about.
That's what I was thinking would be coming first. Like, I think we'll get that kind of tactile, immediate hot or cold sensitivity.
Pain?
Or pain.
Or pain.
I think we'll get that first. That seems more
there's so many different senses, like in haptic senses, that are not explored yet in terms of adding more presence, adding more version, or even emerging or changing up gameplay.
Yeah.
Of course, if someone has it and someone doesn't, then how do you balance that? But
because it would be a disadvantage. It's going to
throw
off your aim.
Disadvantage. But then is this something that would only potentially work in a controlled environment, in a tournament environment, or like a on-location environment?
Yeah.
Right. I would be super interested in doing an on-location environment if it had better haptics, more convincing haptics than to make it impractical for the home environment, but also put everyone in that experience on a level playing field. So everyone has to have haptics that may hinder your accuracy or hinder your movement, or maybe more aggressive than you anticipated, but that's the kind of intense experience that I may want in a virtual shooter or a virtual game.
I wonder when this trajectory of actual physical haptic rumbling, solenoids or motors is going to intersect with our ability to tap directly into the brain and fool our brains into believing that we're just feeling those things.
Well, tapping into the brain, did you see this tweet? There's a guy at D. Marcos tweeted 2 days ago. He tried galvanic vestibular stimulation, and there's a photo of him wearing this headset that apparently it's a demo of him riding a roller coaster, and it's sending signals directly in his brain, so it feels more like it feels acceleration. I'm not exactly sure how it works.
I mean, it basically uses like your electrical potential across your skin to create sort of a electrical signal to this device, but I don't get how they're creating that level of sensation because he's talking about creating something that you feel it in the pit of your stomach, right? That roller coaster sensation.
And then someone else replied them saying that they tried it as well, and for them the demo was to reduce simulation sickness. So I wonder, can it work both ways?
Yeah.
This is something I would love to try.
The fact that every dream feels real tells me that it's all possible. Any stimulation of our brain can create any sensation.
Dude, I'm looking at this picture of galvanic vestibular stimulation. This is basically like something out of a hospital hooked up to a VR machine. It's like some masking tape. I'm going to put a picture in the show notes. This is nuts.
Yeah.
It definitely is pads with alligator clips clipped onto them.
Sci-fi.
And electrical signals being sent in. Yeah, I'd still want to try it. Sign me up. Sign me up. And then finally, one bit of a sad note in the VR space. Alt VR has gone away.
Altspace.
Yeah. They announced that they ran out of funding and they were not able to secure a second round. They had tons of users on their platform, and people were spending a lot of time in Altspace. And they'd built it was one of the first places where you heard about people in VR, even before motion controllers, playing board games together virtually.
Yeah, it was one of the first versions of the metaverse, the real chat room where everyone made their own avatar and hung out together. Didn't they do the Reggie Watt stuff?
They did as well. Yeah.
That's kind of sad because they were one of the real innovators.
We've already seen what happens when a metaverse goes away.
Yeah.
It may not have impacted a ton of people, but we could definitely feel it, especially in the VR community. I think that's it for the VR Minute. Any other things you guys have read about, want to talk about, things you've tried, demos you tried? There's a new 45-minute long VR movie that was released by hold on, name it's a Japanese name, Miyubi. It's a 40-minute VR film shot. It's just 360 video.
That's
it's
not
Felix and
VR.
Paul. Well,
don't call it VR, man.
sorry, it's a 40-minute 360 film, 360 video.
Yeah.
And I thought they were very clever about the direction that they took, and that they told a story about you being a 80s robot that was opened as a birthday present.
Ooh.
And told for 40 minutes. I think that cinematically, to script something out that long and have it make sense from that perspective is difficult, and so it's a worthwhile experience to watch.
Where do I watch it?
It's on the Oculus Store, and I believe...
Oh, it's an app. Like you download it.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's called Miyubi.
Is it stereo?
It is stereo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Gunheart came out. So we talked about that game, last week in projections? Now it's actually out, so you can go play it. It's a co-op first-person shooter. Well, worth your time. Also, Archangel came out. A lot of apps just came out. That was the game we played at one of the trade shows, where you're a mech and you lumber through and you fire at all these things. I think it's a gamepad game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think maybe not. Maybe it's a pads. Anyway, yeah, it's a big. They're releasing lots of games. There's a game called The Wizards. Never even heard about this. Just came out. Lots to try.
That does it for the VR Minutes. Let's go to the last
Testing
segment.
this week. Hey, what have you guys been testing?
Balancing.
Wow. Don't
I
spill
have
it.
shaky hands. This is not going to work.
Okay, so I'll tell you what. If you want to run 1980s era, circa early 1990s computers on a modern day LCD monitor, it's a lot of work. It doesn't work. Like everyone who's doing classic computer stuff, and like not that many people do this. They're all using emulators, DOSBox.
So this is outputting from an 80s, 90s era VGA port
Exactly.
To a computer that only takes DVI,
HDMI, what have you.
HDMI.
Even if they have a VGA input, like they still won't accept the stuff often.
Because of
You're lucky if you find one that accepts a DOS prompt, because that particular mode is like 720 by 400, which
so it's
is weird.
resolution and refresh rate.
And refresh rate, because DOS was a 70 hertz refresh rate.
70 hertz.
So it's weird, because like most monitors are only 60, at least the cheap ones.
Yeah, so you have to adapt.
So they have to support these resolutions. But if you try to play the games, you're in worse trouble, because those were mostly 320 by 200.
Oh.
No monitor.
What does that look like scaled up to 4K?
Well, if you do it nearest neighbor, it looks great. And if so, I've finally, with the help of my good friend Jim Leonard.
Hold on, you can't select on your monitor nearest neighbor.
No, you're right. No, but like if you're right, so you depend to some degree on the scaling of whatever device you have. In any case, I went through 3 different scalers, and I finally found one that works. It's the Star Tech VGA to HDMI adapter. That's the one you want, people. It's like they don't sell it anymore, so you got to get it on eBay. But it's probably $100 or so. My good friend Jim Leonard had one. He sent it to me. It works great. You don't understand. I went through 3 scalers. None of them did it, and they all almost look alike. Like you think, and they have the same interface buttons. You figure it's the same thing inside, but it's not. That's the one you want, and it'll run all your old computers if you still have them, and you want to run them on a big monitor. So now I have classic games running on a 32-inch monitor. And it's gorgeous.
You're supposed to run that on an old CRT that flickers.
Yeah, like 12-inch.
That people huddle over his shoulders and look in, and you have to squint, and you can see the scan lines.
I know.
That's the experience you want to give your children.
I hate those old monitors. They're so heavy. They're low res. I mean, they're small. So this is like what makes it interesting for me, is that I can play Wing Commander at 32 inches. It's not because you don't want to have stretch it. You got to stick to 4x3. But still, it's wonderful, and I got it working. That's what I've been testing.
All right. Kishore, anything on your end?
I finally got a camera before I went to London. I got the A6000.
Sony?
And I've been using that in different modes and just been experimenting with a lot of its video capabilities right now. I know that camera has been out forever, but this is my first mirrorless camera ever.
Oh, fantastic. What did you use the stock lens that came with it?
I've been mostly using the stock lens, but I also have the 55 to 120, right? Or whatever that number is.
The zoom, the digital zoom.
I have the zoom
electronic zoom.
Yeah.
Got it. That's very cool. We've been futzing around the office with fog machines.
Really?
We did some photo shoots yesterday, and we borrowed Adam's fog machine. And he has a crazy, awesome industrial fog machine that he
Old
uses
school one.
for brain candy. We got them. It was awesome because the one we had at our office here was like one you could buy on Amazon, like a cheap party fog machine.
Yeah.
Which does not nearly have the strength.
Well, how's it different?
It just outputs the
Like
flow
it's
is
constant?
It's almost constant.
Really?
And it does take 10 minutes to warm up, but it can fill a room. The patterns you get out of it are wonderful.
Does it use a glycol, same material?
Same.
So that means the
fog
heater
fluid.
in there is a lot better.
Yes. Yeah.
We should do something with lasers.
Yeah. And then this past weekend when I was helping Danica babysit for your child, I spent that afternoon building the Tamaxian globe that you helped me laser cut.
Oh, you finished that?
Yes.
Oh, good.
And you cut that with your Glowforge.
Uh-huh.
So I'll show you a picture, but the holes that I have. So this is a globe, a 20-sided globe, that's all triangular panels that you can hook together, and the axes, the points that they connect on are just 3D printed pieces. It looks great, but it's all bolted together with some hex bolts, and the cut holes for that were misaligned.
I noticed that. They were in the source file.
Oh, they were in the source file. Okay,
Yeah.
so this was all just source file problem. I found a way around it, but it ended up looking great. Yeah,
Cool.
People have, I tweeted a picture of it, and people were asking about it. May make some. It's super easy for me to laser cut those panels, or you to laser cut the panels, and we have a laser cutter here, and the 3D print some. I may make some kits to bring to DesignerCon or wherever we are at next if people want to buy them.
How do you display it?
It's just so I was thinking about that. There is a nice flat edge that you can just sit on.
Sure.
But I could also take one of those axes and just invert it with a Boolean operation and create a stand. And then I can put it's right now just sitting on my coffee table at home.
It is a world globe.
It is a world
It'd be
globe.
fun to make it rotate, put it on a proper globe thing. You could spin it.
Yeah, lots of fun ideas. We have a lot of things going on the site right now. We posted earlier this week for our members a totally unauthorized commentary of the movie Alien from 1979. It was Simone's very first time watching the film. We have it on camera.
That's great.
And we all thoroughly enjoyed it. Adam jumped in and sat through with us and provided commentary on the film.
So you need to provide your own copy of the film, right?
Yes, you bring your own commentary copy of the film.
How's it sync up?
We do have parts of the film, images of it that are off screen, on screen, but off in the background that you can match up. We do also give a audible sync mark in the beginning for the 20th Century Fox. We sing the 20th Century Fox song.
That's a good idea. Okay.
Along with you.
I like that.
So you can hear the ba-ba-da-da part. And then we have another one-day build coming up this week, so you can look forward to that later today, actually, this morning on Thursday, and the rest of our Comic-Con footage going up. Lots of cool stuff on the site. And do we have an outro this week?
Yep, I'm sure we do.
All right, while you dig that up, I have one last story. I was over at my friend's place over the weekend, and I saw he's a big fan of Star Trek Voyager, and I saw on his shelf he had a Star Trek Voyager model. And I said, oh, that looks like a really nice model. Where'd you get that? And it turns out that he bought it 10 years ago and built it, and it was made by Bandai. So the model kits, the Gundam model kits and the Star Wars model kits, Bandai actually made some Star Trek ones. And so I went on an eBay deep dive and found some Star Trek Bandai model kits that have lighting kits inside them.
What?
And so we may build those
Nice.
in the future.
We still have that Star Trek VCR game to play.
Yes.
That's it. I found in my garage the other day.
That would be fun.
Someone needs a VC, and someone needs to bring
I have a
VCR.
VCR.
All right.
That would be fun.
That might be.
How does that work? How do we fit that into tested?
Well, we can't show the video.
Well, yeah, we can.
It's on YouTube.
We can totally show the video.
No one's gonna come after us.
Maybe have people load. If it's on YouTube, you can load up the video on YouTube and sync to play it. CBS still holds the copyright for that.
They're not gonna find us.
We've already said it on the podcast. All right, here. Who is this outro from?
Will D.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
I think we can do another rev of that of your disc.
Oh, he's criticizing your fan art.
That was amazing.
Little Beastie Boys.
Wow.
I like it.
You can find the source file for that outro if you just search "This Is Only a Test" outro. It's on our forums,
Or
and then create a new one.
Beastie Boys on YouTube.
Or, yeah. All right, see ya.
See ya.
Bye.